Thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, it was a chance meeting that I met your husband first, and he was doing some work on our house, and we were just chatting about life and what we do. And then, yeah, he said, I think you need to meet my wife. I said, okay. I think you guys would have some things to connect on. So, I always say you never know who you're going to meet, and that is a perfect example of that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with everyone. Got some slides to share with you all. So hopefully you can see this. Katie, can you see it all right?
You want to take it?
Oh yeah, we can see. We're just trying to get to the mute all button as well. We
Perfect.
can see it.
Okay, brilliant. I'll go ahead and start. So the work that I do really mostly with women, but this will be definitely accessible for men and women, is really to align with the truth in your heart and to live your life from that place. And so when Katie said that I could talk about any topic that I wanted to, I was quite excited, and I knew that one of the fundamentals of Always Live Well, of my approach to life, and certainly the work that I do with my clients, is to create heart-centered intentions. And really the aim tonight is for you to simply see what is the difference between a goal and an intention, as well as how could you benefit from having an intention. So of course we have 20 minutes here. It's a short amount of time, but within that, I hope that you walk away with an understanding of heart-centered intentions and how they could benefit you. So the feedback that I always get is that in order to transition to a space like this, it really helps to have a moment to ground yourself and center. So I invite you, if it is comfortable for you to do, to go ahead and gently close your eyes for a few moments and listen to my voice. If closing your eyes is not available, just gently lower your gaze down. I invite you to place one hand against your chest, so your palm is touching your chest, and then go ahead and place your other palm against it, so you feel connected to your chest here. Not only the place where your lungs are that allow you to breathe, but also your heart. And I invite you to take in the deepest breath that is available to you at this moment, in through your nose, with a big exhale out through your mouth. Again, another inhale, deep inhale in through your nose. Big exhale out through your mouth. And one last deep breath in through your nose. Big exhale out through your mouth. Rolling your shoulders up and back. Unclenching your jaw. Loosening any tension in your forehead. And taking one last moment to send yourself gratitude for choosing to be here tonight. And on your next exhale, go ahead and gently open your eyes. And we'll begin. So, what is a goal? This is a very obvious question for all of us, right? We are all familiar with goals. We know how to set them. We know how to set SMART goals. I'm sure this is nothing new to you. However, the purpose of this is to take a step back from what your idea of a goal is right now and simply look at what is the definition actually of a goal. So things that I'm sure right now you're thinking of the goals that you have in your life, whether it's a goal for tonight, whether it's a goal for tomorrow, 6 months from now, 5 years from now. We've got goals operating in our lives, an aim or an action we want to get to. So then, what is a heart-centered intention? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to give you an opportunity to see if you can figure out what that might mean to you. A heart-centered intention. So we'll start with some real life examples. So you can see a goal side by side with an intention. And as you look at these, I'm going to show you 4 different examples. I want you to, if you have pen and paper there, just jot down whatever thoughts come to your mind. But really the objective here is to look at an intention and try to figure out what it is. After you see the 4 examples one at a time, I'll show you them all together and give you some time to go a little bit further into it. So here's a goal about bedtime. It's very specific. Here's an intention. Any thoughts that come up, anything you notice, go ahead and write it down or plant that seed in your mind. The next one, here's another goal. And an intention. Here's our third goal. This may strike a chord with some of you. Don't want to work on the weekends. And here's an intention. And again, our final goal for this set of examples. And an intention. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to, in a moment, look at the goals versus the intentions and really try and figure out if you can write a definition of what you think an intention may be or what it means to you, and see if you can pick out at least 3 aspects of an intention. So what makes up an intention? All right. Here they all are. I know this is a lot of information on one page, I'm well aware, but just so you have some comparisons for the next couple of minutes. So looking for at least 3 aspects of an intention and what you might say your definition of an intention would be. Giving yourself another 20 seconds or so to write down some final thoughts. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on into some of the key aspects that I've noticed in the work with my intentions that really make up this idea of an intention. First and foremost, it is present focus. It's focused on what is happening now. So really bringing your attention to the present moment. Whereas oftentimes when we think of goals, they are a future oriented, a future focused concept or aim. They're very much feeling based. So the word feel was used several times. So intentions are all about how you want to feel. How do you want to feel as you work towards your goal? And they are not a destination to get to, a specific outcome to have, but more about the actual process of getting to your goal. So being on a journey, the intention serves you throughout the entire journey and beyond in many instances. So unlike goals where you either achieve your goal or you don't achieve your goal, with intentions, you can't fail. You either are in alignment with your intention or you're out of alignment with your intention. So there isn't this idea of success and failure. I reached my goal, I didn't reach my goal. It's really, am I aligned in this moment with my intention or not? And intentions can be timed. You can set time constraints to them, or they can be completely timeless. I have clients that I work with where their intentions actually end up being something that they envision using for the rest of their lives. Whereas mostly goals usually have deadlines. We don't really set goals for life, especially in our professional setting. So these are 5 of the key aspects. You may have come up with some others of your own that you noticed. So really, what is the main difference here between your goal and an intention? It comes down to the questions that you ask. So for a goal, these are 2 of the questions that you would be asking. And with an intention, these are 2 of the questions that you would be asking. So our main words here for goal are doing and getting. And our main words for intention here are being and feeling. So you can see it's quite a different approach. So a couple things that are important to note is that goals and intentions can work alongside each other. Like you saw in the examples, you can have a goal and an intention, a goal to be in bed by 10 p.m. and an intention to feel well rested at work. Or your intention may at times supersede your goal and actually become more important, or really the motivator or the driving force in what you're doing. So it's not a one or the other type of idea. It is very much that they can work alongside each other. So what are the benefits then of living in this way, living with a heart-centered intention? Rather than tell you what they are, I will show you through a few examples of clients that I've worked with. And the first example is a woman who came to me who had some major decisions she needed to make, and she had to be very decisive in a short period of time. So right away, we're thinking, oh, goals. So the decisions that she needed to make were around her employment, this new relationship that she was in, and not knowing what was going to happen with it, as well as where she was actually going to live. So no big deal, just need to make decisions in all 3 areas of my life very quickly. So she came to me, as you can imagine, quite stressed out and anxious. So when we really had a look at this, the intention that she came up with is this. It's a bit of a longer intention. Don't always have them this lengthy, but for her, she really needed support in all of these areas. So fundamentally, what it came down to is that she needed to be able to express honestly what she wanted and needed in all 3 of these areas of her life. And so being able to have those conversations with the feeling of, I can trust myself here. I'll be supported when I speak up for myself. I'm happy to report that she was able to secure the job that she wanted. She is now living in a new city with her boyfriend and very happy in her relationship. So this really, this intention really supported her in her goals and also beyond. You see that this intention is not something that would end as soon as she got the job or moved in with her boyfriend. These are going to continue to support her. The next example is a woman who came to me who was really feeling challenged with the emotional reactions that she was having. So this was happening at home with her husband. This was happening in the workplace. This was happening with her family. She was feeling very reactive and a bit out of control with her emotions. So her goal was really, Amanda, I need to manage this better. So the intention that she ended up setting was this. Now, initially, this may seem like a bit of a disconnect or a stretch. However, approaching situations where she would normally feel stressed, where she would normally be reactive, it was, I want to feel love in this moment. Okay, what do I do with these emotions if I want to feel love here? If I want to feel love when I'm sitting across the computer from my client, when I'm sitting across the dinner table from my husband, when I feel super stressed out and I don't want to exercise, but I really know that I have to. For her to be able to come back to this, I want to feel love. It has now enabled her to, she just told me recently she had her, as an entrepreneur, had her highest sales she's ever had. She's been able to pick up a hobby that she was really struggling with, writing, and she now is writing daily. And she said she's had so many more positive interactions with her husband, even when she's feeling emotional. So a final example is another client who came to me who was having a really difficult time in her work environment. There were some toxic dynamics happening and she was feeling caught up in it. And the stress from work was happening when she was getting ready in the morning to go to work. It was happening at work. It was happening on the way home. It was happening at home, and taking her away from the things that she wanted to do in the way that she wanted to feel. She didn't want to continue feeling stressed out and being in this toxic work environment. So her intention, again, initially this may seem like a disconnect or a stretch, but her intention was to love herself. So when she approached the work situation where there is a toxic environment, maybe when her manager was speaking to her in an inappropriate way, she was able to make decisions from this place that says, I love myself, so I'm going to do this instead. And she's told me about situations at work that were even more stressful than we initially talked about, that she's been able to manage in a completely different way. And another beautiful part of this is that when you start living with these heart-centered intentions, from what I've seen, is that not only does the internal world change, but the external world starts to respond to you. And she told me that it just so happened one of her colleagues that she was having the most trouble with got transferred to another office. She didn't have to do anything, it just happened for her. And so these are the beautiful things that sometimes do happen as a result of really living from this heart-centered place and taking action from there. So those are the benefits of living from a heart-centered intention. Just to quickly recap what some of those are is really what my clients tell me, that they feel so much better about themselves. They feel so much more worthy of who they are when they live from this place. They're much more aware aware not only of themselves and their emotional state, but also aware of the present moment and what is actually happening now. This inherently is a self-reflection process of checking in with yourself. Am I aligned with my intention? Am I not aligned with my intention? It automatically creates opportunities for self-reflection. Intentions also serve as a guide in your life to be able to help you to make decisions, to choose what is right for you and achieve goals faster. In many instances, such as the client that I shared who had her biggest sales month, and she didn't even have that as a goal. It was beyond what she had set as her goal. And just generally happier, feeling happier, and coming from the heart. So this is a quote that I really love that summarizes what intentions can do. So I told you I wasn't going to give you a definition, but I am. So this is the definition that I have created for a heart-centered intention. So quite a bit different than the aim and the outcome of a goal. You can screenshot this if you would like to, or take a picture. So I invite you to think of a goal that you have right now. Just one, whatever pops in your head first. Could be something for tomorrow, could be something for 2 months from now or 2 years from now. What's a goal that you have? And if you were to have a heart-centered intention in your life, working alongside that goal, how do you feel that would support you? Something to think on. So going forward from here, if this has piqued your interest, or you maybe have thought of someone in your life who may benefit from work like this, I have a few options that I will share with you about how you can personally work with me. And I have for those of you who are feeling challenged in love, feeling challenged in relationships, whether you are in a relationship or not in a relationship, I have a really beautiful 8-week course called Learn to Love Well. And it fundamentally is designed to transform the way that you experience love and relationships. So that is very much focused on love and relationships. Another option is my Live Well program, which is a one-to-one program that is designed around exactly what you need. So this is a completely bespoke coaching over 12 months, and intentions will most definitely be a part of this. Like I said, they are very fundamental to the work that I do with all of my clients. Or if you do want to go ahead and have an intention setting session, or you maybe aren't in a place to do a program, I do offer single sessions as well. And these are all coaching and guidance oriented sessions. That's my website and my email for you. If you want to take a picture of that or screenshot, I can share it later as well. So that's what you can do moving forward if you're interested in more. So I, of course, encourage you for a moment of reflection. What is an insight that you gained tonight? And from this very brief 20 minutes, I don't have the timer available on my screen, so hopefully we've stuck to time. But yeah, if you can write down an insight that you had, and as we go through the Q&A, if there's any questions, you can continue on from there. Thank you. I see the silent claps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I think as educators, we have a natural instinct to look after everybody else. And sometimes we forget actually how much we need to reflect on our own happiness. And I, for one, will definitely be working on my personal statement to direct the way that I think, act, and feel over the remaining days of the week. So thank you so much. We have actually got some questions in the chat. Maybe we could take, have we got time for one now, Rebecca, and then one? We've got time to one. So somebody was asking, what about using intentions with children? Have you done any work with children? Because we do a lot about goal setting, but we don't really do a lot, I don't think, about intentional setting.
I have worked with children, but I have not worked specifically with intentions with children, meaning an intention setting. But I absolutely believe that intentions are span any age group. So as long as they can articulate how they want to feel, or who they want to be in the world, in the environment, in the classroom, at home, wherever it is, I absolutely believe that intentions can be really beneficial for children. And if we consider, yes, there's always goals. Having that consideration alongside the goal. Well, how do you want to feel when you're working towards your goal? I personally say yes, you absolutely can. But I know there are a lot of very experienced educators here, so of course that would be your personal choice whether to use that or not.
So it's with great pleasure that I hand over to Dr. Sadie Hollins. You're all good, Sadie.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you so much. And it's such an honor to be here. I've just started becoming involved in Women Ed Thailand, and I know how important and special these meetings and events are. So I'm really delighted to be here. So thank you so much for that. I realize like my talk is quite a bit about myself. So but I hope there'll be stuff to take away from it within that as well. So my name's Sadie. I currently work as a head of sixth form at an international school in Chiang Mai in the north of Thailand. So part of my role is kind of university counselling, but WISE education has kind of been a big part of why I've kind of got to where I am now. So my talk today is going to be about WISE education a bit more and my wellbeing journey so far. So as Becky explained, so WISE education stands for Wellbeing in International School Education. And it actually probably started, the seed was planted a few years back, but it's been something that's been going for about a year. My journey into international education was a little bit bumpy. I don't come from a kind of secondary education background. In the UK, I used to work as a higher education lecturer, and I used to work in a sports program looking after first year students. And actually, I feel like a lot of people that are interested in wellbeing normally have a story as to how they got there. And I think mine started from doing that job. It was my kind of dream job. I worked up to it, and then I had quite a negative experience, and I left higher education. And that's when I kind of followed my wife out to Chiang Mai in Thailand. And at that time, I was bouncing around a little bit while she worked in international education because she's a teacher. And during that time, I was really fortunate to randomly get into a job where I started off actually as a personal trainer. You wouldn't believe that if you saw me now, but I used to work as a personal trainer at an addiction rehab in Chiang Mai. So it was a high-end rehab, and my specific role was working with the LGBTQ+ program. So they had the first addiction program for LGBTQ+ clients outside the US. So it was really, really unique, and it had people all over the world coming to it. And as that process got on, I became more interested in counselling and the psychology side of things. I just really enjoyed working with clients. I really enjoyed seeing how that whole process worked when you're seeing people come in and, you know, a month or 2 months later, you are literally seeing a complete different person leave. And that process of change was what really sparked an interest for me. So from there, I actually got the chance to work in my wife's school. There was a support role going, and so I moved into that role. And about a year ago, the pandemic was started, and during that time, as I kind of been in the support role, I kind of felt that, you know, this applies to everyone, but, you know, not all teenagers want to speak to someone when they've got stuff going on. You know, talk therapy doesn't work for everyone. But I really felt that there was a need to create some sort of resources that teenagers could engage in on their own terms, and pick and mix and take things that are useful from what other people share to try and create a wellbeing bank or resource of their own. So I started a newsletter at school. And it had staff contributions, it had student contributions, which were really, really cool. And it also had parent contributions. We had like the PTO president write an article for that as well. And off the back of that, I had a discussion with my boss at the time, who was really influential for me, a really big support figure. And we'd kind of thought that there wasn't enough of, we didn't feel like there was resources out there in terms of counselling, support, PSHE type resources that we felt like neatly fitted into the international context. They were all great, they were all brilliant, but I felt like what I was taking and what my reality was very different. We've got, you know, affluent neglect, you've got different kind of cultural complexities around how mental health is viewed, how mental health treatment is viewed, and then also just the complexity of parents from different cultures and then living in a different culture itself. So it felt like there was a need to find resources that were more relatable to the context that we find ourselves in. You know, working in support or working in international schools, you're not just teaching, you're often almost, you know, social services, counsellors, everything really. You're almost like a second family to a lot of these students. So it felt that there was a need to find some resources that were more relatable to the context that we're working in. So off the back of that, I thought, like, let's try to see if there's a way of creating a newsletter that's for teachers, for educators, for staff, for counsellors. And so I completely shamelessly begged all my friends to write for me that had worked in counselling, that also worked in international education. And that's how the first Wise Education newsletter started about a year ago in the pandemic. And then alongside that, I created a blog, which was my way to formulate my thoughts around what was going on. I really felt that the newsletter was important to get other people's views. And then the blog was kind of my process of working out where I sat on things and what I kind of thought. And actually, that has become such a big part of my life now. I never really knew how much I love writing until I started the blog. I think from leaving higher education, you know, when I came to Thailand, I felt a lot of shame for building up to that point and then kind of just walking away. And so I think I was put off writing for a long time. And the blog really helped me to realize when there's no pressure, there's no peer review, there's no nothing, it's just you sharing your thoughts. That was a really helpful process and something I've really, really enjoyed. So the newsletter became a magazine. It started to get more contributions and really, like, fortunately, more than just my friends, which I think they're really grateful for. And we were able to find people that are kind enough to contribute, that had, you know, great projects going on, counselling techniques that they were really passionate about, research projects they were working on, and it became an assortment of all things well-being. So we've had articles in the past on animal-assisted therapy. We've had an article from a student on trans inclusion in schools. We've had stuff on teacher identities and how that impacts student identities and their sense of well-being. So really, really wide and varying interpretations of well-being. through the newsletter. So as it's gone on, the magazine is we've been fortunate to grow it, and now I guess the goal for me is for it to be a real platform of ideas around well-being. However you interpret that, we all interpret that really differently. So it was important for me to have it from lots of different angles, so it would resonate with lots of different people, and it could be applicable across disciplines. You know, it's not just the counselor's remit, it could be the maths teacher, it could be the principal, something they could take home. The aim would be to make sure there's something there for everyone. So I just included this quote because this is actually something that my old boss, who I mentioned, who was really influential for me at the time that I joined my old job. I'd say I was in a really dark place, having left higher education, full of lots of doubt, and so it was a kind of confidence building process for me. And I didn't realize this is kind of what I felt like actually he'd done for me. I went to him one day with a staff member I was finding really, really challenging, and I was like, I just cannot deal with this person. And his advice to me was to kind of treat people as what they ought to be, so they kind of help them to become who they are. Like if we treat people as we see them, then we're maybe limiting our interactions with them, whereas we treat them with like positive high regard. Like if we treat them how they could be, that's much better, not only for our connections, but also what we allow people to become in our minds. And I felt that he always treated me as kind of, I guess he had trust in me, he had belief in me, so I almost like rose to that. And I thought that was really a really nice sentiment that I try and remember in lots of different aspects now, especially with working with students. I don't just kind of take things at face value. I try and hopefully think about who I can believe that they can become, so they have that confidence in them, hopefully, that I definitely felt from my boss. So Wise Education, I was really lucky a few months ago to connect with Andrew from School Management Plus, and he's been awesome and just kind of believing in the project. And so Wise Education, which started as the blog and newsletter that I've run, has kind of been rebranded, renamed as Wellbeing in International Schools magazine. And the aim is, so it kind of does what it says on the tin, and people can hopefully recognize that that's what it's about, really. And we had our first issue that came out on Saturday, and we had 16 contributors, which is incredible, from all around the world. And the most recent issue has it's my favorite yet. I've loved all of them, and I really, really enjoy this one. And so there's topics such as well-being and identity, that the importance of sleep, social emotional learning, and the importance of adopting a queer and cultural lens. And that for me is particularly important. Working in Thailand, I found that so helpful, and that really resonated with me a lot. So yeah, this is the new magazine that's come out, and I saw Liz Cloak was here. Hi Liz. Liz has been a massive support of the magazine and contributed to an earlier issue. So it's really awesome to connect with you here. And I guess, I don't know how long I've been speaking for, if I've gone too fast or not, but I guess what I've learned so far from this process, I am in no way a well-being expert. Almost this project is selfishly for me to learn how to better my own well-being, and hopefully by doing that I help the students that I work with by sharing some of the things that I learn as well. And I pulled this up. Jen Hardy is someone I follow on Instagram, who I absolutely love, because I feel like everything she says is very real, very to the point. And it's that thing of like, if I wait until I can show up perfectly, then I'll risk never doing it at all. And I have absolutely no business running or like coordinating a magazine. I've never had any background, I've never had any training with it, but it's been a project that I believe is hopefully I think is needed, is necessary, and helps other people. I've learned a huge amount from the people that have contributed, and I hope that that can be paid forward and that can be shared to other people reading the magazine. So I don't want this to be like an inspirational quote, but I really do think that sometimes you just have to like take the dive and see how it works out. And you know what, if it doesn't work out but you love doing it, then it's achieved its aim anyway. So I guess that's it from me. That's a whistle stop tour on why is education and the wellbeing in International Schools magazine. You know, if there's anyone that is potentially interested in writing, whether you've written before or whether you've never written, but you have an interest in something related to wellbeing or something that's important to you, then please reach out. I'd absolutely love to connect with you, to talk to you about your thoughts, about your ideas for an article. We're absolutely looking for articles going forwards, and it's great to connect with new people as well. So maybe I'll pop my email in the chat if anyone's got any questions or if anyone wants to talk after this session. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sadie. Thank you for your authenticity and your honesty. And you said at the beginning it was all about you, but it really wasn't. It was quite the opposite. What you're doing is so impactful for us all. And I mean, I know most of us here in Malaysia are really struggling with the current situations that we're in. If we're educators in particular, being at home, our students need us more than ever. And as you explained, we're not experts in support or counselling. We're teachers, we're educators, and we're here fumbling through, trying to give the right advice and support to students and their parents and each other. And I think that having a resource such as yours, I remember when I first listened to your podcast series, and every one of you haven't listened to them, they're really great. You were speaking to an Irish athlete, a gymnast, and I remember I was walking and he was saying about how it was okay to get your well-being from your work. And that's how I really feel. I really feel for me that actually my well-being comes from diving into my work and committing to my work. And there were so many things in that conversation that resonated with me. And I do believe that as you listen to the different things that you share, and I know in the magazine as well, there'll be something for everyone to take away, and those little bits stick with you. So I'm on behalf of the international educators here, but everyone else as well, we're so grateful for what you've started. We're grateful for the work you're doing with Women Ed Thailand as well, and I hope that Women Ed Malaysia can soon collaborate and do more with you. But thank you for giving us your time tonight. Really, really grateful.